Let's go. Let's shift gears.
Hey,
All right.
buddy, have a new hitting coach in. A lot of the guys, though, were in the organization last year, so they've been around. What do you feel changes offensively for you guys? What are some of the different emphases and the plans?
Well, there's some things that we'd like to keep internally, right? That some things that we're talking about as an offense. So we're gonna keep those to ourselves. But I think with all our hitting coaches and including Dave now at the top of that, all these guys have great knowledge and great credibility. And I think the relationships with the players, uh, is in as good a place as it's ever been. And Dave will bring a fresh set of eyes to this group and a great deal of experience. He's he has some great ideas about once we move a little deeper into spring training and once we move into the season, he's going to bring some attributes. But offensively, I think you can say honestly that we probably weren't statistically as good as we thought we should be last year. Some guys had some big individual years, right? Trev had a big year, and Nolan did his normal. But there's some guys that were probably not up to their own standards, and I think that will turn around. But if you look at our team, I think we're probably as well balanced. I think as far as we have some power. I think we have some guys that I think are going to hit for average. I think we have a speed component to our potential roster that is a little bit different than some previous years that I've been here. So we're looking to be balanced, and obviously I think the thing that's important is runs scored, right? RBIs, runs are scored in a lot of different ways,
Yeah.
but as long as they're scored, and they're knocked in, as opposed to maybe just relying on homers and such. But that's just the complexion of our roster.
Were you good enough and at times I saw, especially Ian, take the base that needed to be taken? Being a little bit more, were you guys good enough at that, and can you be?
I think we've been better. I mean, that's something that I think all teams talk about. Being aggressive on the bases and doing some things to push the envelope. I think we stress it as much as any team. But again, it goes back to I think our roster construction. We have guys that are capable of putting a great deal of pressure, on the defense. Ian, Trevor, Dahl, potentially Hampson, potentially Tapia, potentially Talkman. I mean, we got guys who can run, who are above average runners, and we feel as though we're going to try to exploit that a little bit more than what we have. We're going to push that.
Last question on that line is there more that can be done from a planning standpoint offensively, where maybe there's more of a team plan?
There's always more, right? You're always trying to improve. Do we talk about team offense? Absolutely. Do we talk about how you do that? Absolutely. Some of the things that are important for us? Yes. So can we improve? Yes. I mean, that's every team's mantra is, they want to get better than the previous year, even if you're one of the top teams statistically in team offense. But yeah, we feel as though we need to improve on that. I mean, we've talked about that as coaches, as an organization, front office, and players, and we'll continue to talk about that through spring training. And then when the season hits, we'll talk about it as we go through the season. And at the end of the year, at the end of the season, we'll really be able to evaluate it.
Right. It just seems hitting so individual that how do you get it to my at bat is connected to your at bat?
Well, there's some things where there are times that the guys behind you, have to do the heavy lifting. If they're pitching around Nolan has to take the walk. If they're throwing him balls, don't expand the zone. Same with Trevor. We can't You know, if a pitcher's purposely trying to pitch around a guy or trying to work his way to a certain guy, you got to let that at bat go. We can't expand the zone, swing at bad breaking balls, chase pitches out of the zone. Trust the guy behind you to knock him in. Do we have to situational hit better? Yes, every team wants to hit better. I mean, we were right around league average last year, and some of the numbers of advancing runners from second to third with with no outs, getting guys in from third with less than two. We were right around league average. We got to do better than that.
So sometimes, particularly with the pitching or the hitting coach, there's sometimes just a feeling that the new voice is kind of nice just because.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, right? In leadership, all sports, whether it's a head coach or offensive coordinator or any role of leadership, I think you hear that, and sometimes that is the case. I think with us, with Dave coming in, I think he's outside of our organization. He's very credible. He's been on World Series teams. He's been on playoff teams. He's coached, some great players. So I think he'll add a lot in that way.
Just 'cause, like they fired 3 hitting coaches in Arizona this year. They all got big league jobs as hitting coaches.
Yeah, right. So
It just
yeah, I mean the nature of professional sports now, right, is if you're talented, you usually land back on your feet relatively quickly, because I think everybody in the industry knows who's good and who's not, and the guys who are maybe not up to that quality, move on, but same thing. I mean, if you're a good NFL coach, right, and you get let go, boy, you land right on your feet, right, as either a coordinator or a head coach somewhere else, right? We've seen that before.
Hey, buddy, would it be an oversimplification to say that a major league pitching coach has a greater impact on the young players than the veterans? And the reason I phrase it that way, and I'm asking a legit question, the veterans have so many guys they work with in the off season, and they have their routines. Do you think that's true, though, that pitching coaches at the major league level have a greater impact with a Sam McMahon or one of those young guys?
Oh, you mean hitters, or you said pitching?
I'm sorry.
You meant hitting?
I meant hitters. I'm sorry. I meant hitters.
I mean, yeah, I probably, yes. Because, veteran players are, I don't want to say set in their ways, but, they've gotten to the big leagues. They've established themselves as hitters. They're farther along the developmental path and know who they are as hitters. Now, can a big league hitting coach impact them? Sure. I mean, it's fine tuning that player. Usually, there's more growth in a younger player that needs to happen. So the big league hitting coach has more of an impact on that growth because there's more teaching to be done.
Right.
So yes, yeah. So I think that's pretty
But you can
common.
still
Pretty
rely
common sense.
on a veteran hitting coach to tweak a veteran if he's in
No
a slump
doubt.
or
Oh,
his
yeah.
mechanics.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, there's impact throughout, but you probably have more impact over time with a young hitter, and then a veteran hitter. I mean, they still have impact, but it might not be the time that is put in with a veteran player.
John Gregg on tomorrow.
Yes.
I know you talked to him kind of after the last year before everybody split, and then
Yep.
I think during the off season, I think you said you talked to him maybe a little bit.
A little bit.
How in depth have your conversations been with him so far in spring, or do you just have you just sort of set
You
a
know,
schedule and let
haven't had a lot of in-depth, profound talks with John this spring. We've conversed, but I think John, had a good off season physically. He looks good physically. He's put some weight on. He feels strong. He identified areas of his body, like his lower half, that he wanted to build. We've talked about that. He's talked openly with us internally that I'm sure he hasn't shared with you some things, all right, that he shouldn't share publicly because it's his stuff. But we know some things that he wanted to work on, and he has. So I'm letting John, go through spring at a nice pace to get ready for the season without a ton of coaching. I think there was a lot of mechanics work over the last early John Gray, even before I got here. There's been some pitch development that those guys have done great work with. I mean, John's in a spot now as a what's he got, 3+ years, right around 4 years or close to 4 years of service that, for John, it's, about going out and taking the ball, which he's done. He's been durable. And with the exception of the ankle thing a couple of years ago, right? That was sort of a bad break. But, his arm's sound. He's John. I think a good thing about John, he knows what he has to do.
The strength, because the strength that he added, he definitely said, going into the offseason that he wanted to do that and feel more, because in part to feel more confident just about
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
And
And it affected his stuff as the game went on, I thought.
yeah. Can strength ever get in the way of a pitcher?
Yep.
Okay.
No doubt. You can be too big. You can become too muscle bound. You can become overweight if you don't weigh enough. Yeah, I mean, in professional sports or any athletic endeavor, I mean, your body's, I'd say, very critical to performance.
Is he to the point where he's going to have to adjust how he does that?
I don't think so.
No?
Buddy, are you impressed with his attitude? I know you talked about there's some internal things that you don't share. But I know with us in the media, he's been pretty outspoken about what he wanted to accomplish. And one of the things he said more than once is, "I'm ready to kick ass." And that's kind of his mantra.
Isn't that great?
It is great. Do you like what you're seeing?
Are you
from
kidding
him in
me? I
terms
love
of-
it. Yes.
But
great.
for John particularly,
Yeah, I think there's, yes, I think there's, John has a lot of pride in his performance and what he does out there. And I think that, he feels as though at times over the last 3 years that, some games have gotten away from him, and that bothers him. And he wants to do everything he can to turn that around.
How much are you guys as coaches, managers, part of that psychological pride process? Or do you leave that, okay, John, now we trust
No.
you. Well,
Well, no, we're always teaching and coaching. Yeah, to what degree or what percentage I don't know, but we're there. I mean, we're teaching every day. We're helping them, but we're not, we're not piling on. We're not overcoaching John.
Was that kind of one of the things that you talked about, the mechanics and everything? Did you guys reach a point at the end of last season where, okay, we've done what we need to do, we need to sit on our hands a little bit and let him take?
No, I think in the off season you have structure of each and every player, what our expectation is for him in the off season, and we meaning the organization had a conversation with John and set a plan in place and help John with some things, and then it's up to John to follow through with that as a professional.
And one of the things he told me was, there's a little bit of, things didn't totally work out. Yeah, he wants to get better and he has a lot of confidence in himself, but there's also some anger, like, hey, I hate that happened.
Yeah.
How do you feel he could use that?
Well, again, I think that is motivation, and there's a component, I think, to all players to not let your failings happen again, right? I mean, Dennis Eckersley always said that what motivated him was the fear of failure. He didn't want to fail. It scared him, so he worked his ass off and concentrated a great deal on not letting that happen. And there's something to that. That I'm not saying specifically to John, but I'm saying to, all players are in maybe at any time, outside of professional sports, that, sometimes enough's enough, and you really bear down making positive things happen consistently. Okay,
Thanks, Bob.
I got to scoot.
All right.